Good evening, friends, and welcome to a Friday night Forensic Friday with yours truly, DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and this guy right here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to speak about Bryan Kohberger, the admitted murderer of the four University of Idaho college students. That's Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogen. A lot of people have been going live and talking about these crime scene photos that have been released. And these are redacted crime scene photos. Ed, you've been you've done this for many, many years. When you were active in the NYPD, you still teach crime scene and evidence preservation. You saw these pictures. They're 200 or so, give or take. We haven't seen all of them, but your thoughts on what was released and the panic that it's created on the internet and the speculation of people talking about these photographs. Just your thoughts, Ed, as a crime scene expert.
Well, as you said, there are many parts of the photographs that are being released that are redacted and blurred out, so you don't get to see the full picture, the full impact of what's there. Although I don't believe what I did see, there were any of the victims present at the time these photos were taken, but there sure was plenty of blood, bloodstain pattern analysis, blood evidence that I saw and recognized immediately as to what it was and how it was made.
Yeah, let's take a look at this, Ed. We'll take a listen to this report here.
This is the news at 6.
And we start with breaking news tonight at 6. Newly obtained records by 7 Investigates show evidence collected the day Bryan Kohberger murdered 4 college students.
Kohberger murdered the 4 students at an off-campus home near the University of Idaho on November 13th, 2022. 7 Investigates got redacted and blurred crime scene photos through a public records request with Moscow police.
I went through all the photos of the outside and inside of the home at 1122 King Road, where Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Gonzalez were killed in the early morning hours. They're what you'd expect out of a crime scene so horrific, so we are not going to show you most of the nearly 200 photos. What you're seeing in these on your screen now are Xana's room, the sliding back door police say Kohberger entered through, blood on a door, Madison's bedroom where she and Kaylee were killed, and handprints on a window. 7 Investigates also obtained surveillance video taken in the hour and a half around the time of the murders from a neighboring home.
And I think this is very important to take a look at. We're going to get into it towards the middle part of this video, but I'll let this news report play. Ed, this is a video from 1112 King Road, which is the screw-in porch light video camera. It really would have been instrumental in the trial, the presentation, because it shows Bryan Kohberger's. He's already admitted to these murders. It shows the white Hyundai Elantra going down back and forth, but more importantly, it shows the vehicle speeding off, and I believe that's what we'll see here. He sped off after he committed this crime at about 4:20 a.m. that evening, and it also shows the DoorDash delivery driver looking for the location. So it was very important. And I mean, I don't know if at trial there would have been more video presented that we never heard about, because I would have to believe that there has to be more video alongside here where these homes are and these homes, and he takes a right, goes down here, and then comes back up on the road. So very important stuff. But folks, we're going to break down the crime scene from a crime scene expert's perspective, that being Ed Wallace. So please stay tuned and hold your questions for the latter part of the show, because Ed's going to be answering some of the questions from the audience.
House. Around 3:51 a.m., you can see on the right side of your screen, a person walked to a car parked outside the home where the video was recorded. That person walks toward 1122 King Road with a flashlight. And over the course of about 15 minutes, you see a white sedan drive to and from the vicinity of the home where the murders happened multiple times. Then between 4:15 and 4:20 a.m., you can hear loud thuds and noises, what could be someone crying and a dog barking for several minutes. Kohberger was ultimately arrested in Pennsylvania at his parents' home more than a month after the murders. Moscow police provided me this photo of Kohberger in custody after his arrest. We're expecting to get even more records in this case in the days and weeks to come. It's really pouring out through public records requests after that case ended in a plea deal. It takes time for our newsroom to go through these photos and videos. We know that they are full of very sensitive information. So we at Channel 7 are focused on making sure we continue to inform you all about this case.
And this is what the dangerous part is this news reporter saying that they just obtained 200 or so photos from the crime scene. We run into an area where obviously, Ed, you and I, we always put the victims' families first. You run into a situation here where you want to follow the wishes of all of the victims' families. Now, there may be some victims' families that say, "Oh, well, we want the real truth. We want everyone to see the horror." But hearing from the Gonzalez family, hearing from the Chapin family, those are the two who I've heard from. They really don't want their daughter's photos of them murdered inside 1122 King Road. Those are gruesome crime scenes, Ed, photos. I want you to talk about the extent of, perhaps without going into any gruesome details here, but go into the extent of how many photos and videos get taken at crime scenes like this. And I know you've processed many gruesome knife murder crime scenes and gunshot victim crime scenes. How many photographs? We know Idaho State Crime Lab was there, responding police officers. Can you just briefly give us an overview as a crime scene unit detective, what would be done here at a crime like this, and what we could be looking at in release of these FOIA requests? Anybody from the public can request them, Ed. So they're required under law to give out this information, albeit it may be redacted. Just could you talk a little bit about that, about the crime scene?
Well, there's going to be hundreds of photographs taken. Now, again, when we arrive at a scene like this, we're going to confer with the first arriving police officers and have a briefing with them as to what took place. Me as the CSI or any CSI would confer with those first officers on what did they do? What did people tell them? What did they see? Have they altered the crime scene in any manner? And then you're going to be documenting everything that you're talking about and the information that they're giving you. And after that, you're going to put on your PPE, you're going to enter the crime scene, and you're going to take a walkthrough of the crime scene, being careful not to disturb or alter any evidence. And you're going to be documenting in written notes, extensive written notes about what it is that you're seeing, and the types of evidence and their locations, and all that is going to be done in written notes. In addition, you're going to be doing a rough hand sketch of the crime scene. And once that's all completed, hopefully there were detectives that were also on scene, because they typically arrive before the crime scene investigators do as well. And then you brief with them, you come back outside, you tell them exactly what it is you saw, what you felt was pertinent and valuable to the criminal investigation, the victims, their positions, their injuries, their wounds, and the types of evidence that are present. And then you're going to explain to them how you're going to process the scene, and you plan with your partner to change your PPE, in this case, booties and gloves, and then re-enter the crime scene, taking long-range photographs starting from the exterior of the location, take around the entire exterior of the location, and then work your way in. Typically, the way I would do it is I would try to identify which way the bad guy got in and enter taking photographs from that route, follow, then document all of the, in this case, multiple floors of the scene with overall photographs. So each room, I'll take 4 corner shots overlapping the images from each corner so that I can get a 360-degree view of the interior of the rooms that I'm in with my overall photographs. Then I'll do that for all the rooms. Once I complete that, then I'll do medium range photographs without scales and numbers where in the rooms where evidence is located. Once I complete that for all the rooms, then I'll lay down evidence numbers next to items of evidence that I'm going to collect and process, package. After I do that, I'm going to take those medium range photographs again, and then take close up with and without scales and numbers of all the items of evidence. Then if I have bloodstain pattern analysis that I need to perform, well, I'll have to do that typically after our victims have been removed, and I'll have to safeguard those locations to make sure nobody alters them. I'm also going to do the same thing with the victims. I'm going to take detailed photographs of the victims as in situ as they lay, and then, you know, head to toe, toe to head, left side, right side, the back of the victim, the front of the victim. And I usually do this in connection with the medical legal death investigators from the medical examiner's office or the coroner's office, with them being present so that we work these bodies together, the bodies of the victims.
Hold your thought for a second, Ed, because I want to just give you a chance here to maybe just get a sip of water if you need to, or whatever the case may be. But I want to just say this real quick. In addition to what you just said with the sketches, the photographs, the long range, the close-up range, is there video that the actual crime scene unit will be taking? Because I want to just set this up for this FOIA request that I'm sure everybody in the true crime realm is going to be requesting these FOIA requests. I mean, I'm not asking you whether you feel that this will be released or not, but in the package of this crime scene at 1122 King Road, as a professional, if it's done to standards, will there also be, before these bodies were removed, video of them as they lay? Because we know that Sergeant Dustin Baker at 21:28 hours, so at 9:28 on the 13th, which is Sunday into the nighttime, the bodies of Ethan and Xana were removed, and also then Sergeant Baker went to the lab as well with Kaylee and Maddie as well, but it all happened after 9:30 on the 13th. So were there, in addition to the pictures, video of them walking through this location as we talked about?
I don't know what their protocols are. The standard is photographs, still photos. You can take video as a supplement to photographs, but not in place of photographs. So yes, you can take video of the crime scene. And also, before those victims are altered in any manner, they should also be 3D laser scanned before that occurs as well.
So with the tripods, as we saw outside, those female crime scene investigators from the Idaho State Crime Lab, they had the tripod set up with the Faro 3D laser scan on the outside of 1122. I'll show the photograph here. We saw them out here in between Kaylee's car and this blue vehicle here.
We saw them on the street in the back of the house with the laser scanner.
So they'll take that same tripod with the Faro 3D laser scanner and go. I think you described this in a previous video of that they go through the entire home. And we had Luke from Faro at the time our good friend Luke came in and gave us a demonstration of inside a school. Remember, he showed us how many images gets collected to create an actual 3D laser image of a location. And he said, if a jury put on those 3D goggles, it's almost like being at that crime scene as the victims lay. Unfortunately, I mean, this is tough conversation to have here, but we're trying to break this down for you guys from an educational standpoint.
And since you keep bringing up the tripod, what you should also know is that you need to put protective bags over the bottom of the tripod legs when you enter the crime scene. Obviously, we decontaminate our tripods if we bring it into a crime scene after each crime scene. But if you're going into a extremely bloody crime scene, you're going to put protective Ziploc bags over each of the tripod legs. And then if they get contaminated, if those bags get contaminated, then you swap them out for clean bags and move on to the next location so that you're not transferring any blood from room to room or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, we appreciate the live chat. We thank you guys. And again, I say hold the questions for the mid part of the show. If you want it, just let us know. If you're new, let us know by saying new in the chat. And also let us know where you're watching. I just highlighted Long Island, New York. Let us know if you're watching from Idaho, from some of the surrounding areas. If you're watching from outside the United States, we'd like to know. Welcome all the replay viewers, the channel members, the moderators. We thank you guys for being here. Let's take a break and look at NBC Nightly News. This is from just about an hour ago. I haven't had a chance to watch this in its entirety, but let's take a watch of this. And again, as a disclaimer, some of the images that the news are reporting may be, troubling to some of the folks who maybe suffer from PTSD. So when you watch these news reports, I just give that trigger warning. So folks, if you suffer from anything that you don't want to see, anything that may be a little traumatizing, maybe it's a time to tune out and then come on back. So here's NBC Nightly News from about an hour ago.
A chilling look inside the off-campus home where the 4 University of Idaho students were killed in 2022. The house frozen in time, signs of a party, dishes still in the sink. These newly released crime scene photos, some blurred by police, reveal both a typical college life and the horrifying signs of struggle from when Bryan Kohberger killed Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Here, blood on the floor, on a door, and on bed sheets.
And I'm gonna come
This
back
image
to you on those the images of the blood on the floor and the walls, because I want you to kind of break it down from a professional standpoint of what we were seeing there. Because a lot of people who don't know about this stuff are just seeing the blood and just going, oh. So when this video is over, maybe we could just come back and you could break down what we were seeing there and what the news was playing.
Showing 2 handprints on the window. And this one, the open glass door, believed to be where Kohberger entered the home.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
The photos, part of a trove of evidence investigators can now make public after Kohberger pled guilty to the murders last month. Police also releasing this security footage from a neighbor's home where at 4:20 a.m. you can hear a dog barking, followed by a car believed to be Kohberger's speeding away. NBC News is not airing all the images released by police, in part out of respect for the families, like Ethan Chapin's parents, who told us they don't want every gruesome detail released.
You don't think the public needs to know?
I know there's pieces of it they don't need to know. It's not for public consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you need to know it? I mean, what's the gain on that? There's zero gain.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
I got to say, again, in the beginning of the show, we mentioned, the victims' families, they have their requests. But at the end of the day, the internet is a place where people are going to talk, whether it's respectfully or disrespectfully. We try to do this in the most respectful way by educating the audience on what they're seeing. To go and glorify this type of stuff. And, we have in the past seen YouTube content creators and other folks, not just on YouTube, but on TikTok, put these images and put images of autopsies of children in a pay-per-view manner. That to me is despicable and disgusting. And for anybody to say, hey, I have these images unfiltered and with no, redaction to them and no blur to them, but you got to come and pay. Like, that to me is just, it goes beyond. It just is disgusting and disrespectful. Ed, your thoughts on that?
These are the victims' families, and they have every right to object to these photographs coming out. The nature of things is, believe it or not, everybody has a morbid sense of curiosity. Okay, and they want to see these things, but they don't have a right to see these things. The family has a right to protect the privacy of their family member that was a victim in this crime. I get that, but when a criminal investigation is done, it's done at the taxpayer's expense, and under the Freedom of Information Act. Once the case has been adjudicated, the press and other interested parties can petition for a Freedom of Information Act request and pay to have the reports and photographs released to them. Certain states have different laws. All the laws are different. There's a network of different laws throughout the state, and it's a state-by-state thing. Some states will not release autopsy photographs or whatever the case may be. I'm not familiar with all the specific nuances of these laws, but why are you doing it? Like in my case, like after I retired, I put a Freedom of Information Act request for some of my high-profile cases because I wanted to use information from my cases in my textbooks. So I had to go get a lawyer and go through the process and so forth.
And for training purposes.
Right,
correct?
for training purposes, right.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, to each their own, and we'll never be able to stop people from doing things. But you said this once, and I wholeheartedly agree. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
100%, 100%. And you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Right. I mean, I tried to shorten it, but yes, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. If you feel like it's okay to do what you're doing, it doesn't mean that it necessarily is okay to do just because you're feeling that way. And it brings me to the next point. I want to listen to, this is from a day ago. Let's listen to Kaylee Gonzalez's dad as he's questioned by our friend Jesse Weber on his feelings and thoughts. Let's take a listen.
And that brings me once again to Steve Gonsalves, who lost his daughter Kaylee to the horrors on King Road. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time. So while it doesn't look like the crime scene photos are in this current batch of documents, do you plan to fight their release if and when that time comes?
Yeah, I believe all the families have let that be known to the prosecuting team that that's not anything that we were interested in. And we've been worried that we would see those leaked at any time when you had like certain stories and certain things been leaked since the very beginning. We were afraid that we'd wake up one morning and that may be on, might be on TV.
Yeah, Steve, I know there are people out there who want full transparency. They want to get every single aspect of this case. I do not see the value of that. I think that this is painful. It's gratuitous. It's disgusting. But for the people out there who want full transparency about this and say, I don't even know what the argument would be to see that. What would your response to them be?
You don't get that. Those are our children, and we're not settling for that type of thing. And I think it encourages. I mean, you got a whole show here with some people that are doing some terrible things to people, and that's one thing that I think we show a little bit too much of. And I hope that we can give these kids some dignity, and we don't have to go there.
Is there anything else in the current batch of documents that you plan to fight the release of?
No, they asked us about the toxicology report after we got that. We said we didn't care. The autopsies, some others wanted to keep that, and I understand that. That has it has like a injury by injury write-ups, so it's pretty gruesome. So those are the ones that we were. I think that'll be the last one that we'll try to keep close to the chest.
And it's good to know that, as you said, that the families seem to be on the same page with this. I mean, there is this argument right out there, putting aside crime scene photos. The public wants to know as much as possible about why these children were killed. And the question becomes, do you think the public has a right to know all the details of the case? Again, putting aside the crime scene photos, do you think the public has a right to know all of this?
I think the public should demand that 100%. Sometimes the courtroom doesn't realize that there is no courtroom without victims, and they need to represent them people and the community. The community has the right to know that they're arresting the right people, and the punishment is correct. And I think that the prosecution here purposely hid the facts of what happened to these kids to try to get all the parents to be in silos and not unite and force them to do the right thing, force them to have, a capital case. They never had that. That's why they didn't tell the kids what really happened to our kids. They hid that from us because they knew that could be a riling crime.
Ed, I wanted to just ask you something, and I chose to stop it here for a reason. Steve is saying, I don't think we'll ever really get to know what happened to our kids. However, as you just described, I'll put us back on. If, again, we know the FOIA requests through the Freedom of Information Act will be available to the general public or anyone that requests it. That would be including all of the reports, all of the crime scene reports, all of the detectives' reports, interviews, whether they were recorded, video and audio of Bryan Kohberger, recordings of witnesses, recordings of interviews that they did of everyday people on the street and surrounding area. So I believe that Steve Gonzalez and other family members, if they want to, they'll be able to eventually glean through these reports that will be released to everybody what the investigators had and fully how this investigation led them to Bryan Kohberger. It may not answer the question of why he did it, and he'll never admit to the why and what his motivation was. We could all speculate about it, but Bryan Kohberger will never tell the truth to anybody. I don't care who he talks to or who he has a conversation with while he's in prison. We're never going to get the truth from him.
Well, they didn't even try. Okay, I mean, that's my pet peeve with this plea deal. They didn't even try. I hear everybody say, "Oh, he's never going to tell us the truth anyhow." Well, here's the deal: if you put on the table that you must make a proffer of what you did, why you did it, and where you disposed of the evidence, and at any time during this proffer, we catch you in a lie, okay, the deal's off the table,
and you face the death penalty,
and we go to trial for the death penalty. Okay. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's easy for me to say this here because I'm not the family. I'm not a victim's family or whatever the case may be. But, it just seems like they just, they had a winning hand and they folded.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Folks, here in the chat, in the live chat, if you agree with what Ed just said, and I agree with what he said, Bill Thompson should have and could have been a little more stern with this plea deal. Like, hey, there's conditions. We, as the district attorney and prosecutors, owe this as a debt to the family, not as a debt, but it's our job to get the answers for them. And we need to press this defendant, this admitted murderer, of like what Kaylee's sister said. She said, "What did you do with the weapon, with the murder weapon? What did you do with your clothes? Where did you dispose of the evidence?" Like, these are all things that we should have gotten answers for.
Right. You want life imprisonment without the possibility of parole instead of the death penalty. Take us to where you buried the clothes. Take us to where you ditched the knife.
Right.
Okay. And at any time, if it doesn't pan out or we catch you in a lie, you're done. You're going to trial. The deal's off.
Yeah. I mean, and if he was pressed like that, there was a chance that we may not got the answers from him or the right answers. But if part of the condition of him not facing the death penalty was you tell us what you did with that murder weapon and give us the whys, why you did this, why this happened.
Why them? How did you target them?
Right.
What's your relationship? Okay.
But that never happened, and that's what's got everybody really up in arms with the Latah County prosecutor, is that like Bryan Kohberger was just really got off with a slap on the wrist. I mean, he is in solitary now, and that's protocol. He's going to be in lockdown for a long time. But at the end of the day, he's getting all those meals, 3 meals, 3 hots and a cot, as they call it, right? He's getting to sleep. He's getting to breathe the same air that we all breathe, albeit it's going to be from inside a penitentiary, and a really shitty one from what we are understanding. But at the end of the day, man, it's about the victims right here. Mm-hmm. These 4 victims and their surviving families. And we can't ever forget that. Can't ever forget it. And it seems like almost everybody agrees with us, Ed, as far as the plea deal goes and getting any answers out of Bryan Kohberger, even if they weren't honest, if he made it up or whatever the case may be. But say to him, hey, if you don't take us to where you put this weapon, or you ditched any evidence, then the deal is off the table. I guarantee you there's a good chance he would have fessed up. Mm-hmm. So, but that wasn't even tried. So that's the problem that we face here. And that's a problem that will continue on for a long period of time. Ed, I do want to go to the questions because we're at the 30-minute mark, but I want to play the Idaho Statesman. It's an 8-minute video. I think it's important to listen to it. I want to also go back to crime scene, and because I had stopped you when you were talking about working in conjunction with the medical examiner's office. We know that Captain Lanier, who was the first ranking officer on the scene from Moscow Police Department, he immediately said, I got to call the Idaho State Crime Lab. And I think that was the best call that he made. And he did it really fast, like quickly. Yes, we had a bunch of people, young kids, inside that crime scene. We had Hunter and many others that were in that house once that 911 call was put in. So yeah, there was a lot of people inside that house. And as a matter of fact, we also got from the reports that Hunter took a kitchen knife from the kitchen for defense, because he was saying, shit, is this perpetrator still in this house? And I don't find any qualms with that. I feel like that was a good move, because at that point, nobody knew where the bad guy was. And he was in there and he backed those girls out of that house and did the right thing. So let's take a look at this this Idaho Statesman. How many people in the chat saw this, watched it? Put a 1 in the chat if you watched it and listened to it. It's a video / audio. It's they're saying that, and I hear it. I listen to it with headphones on. You could hear screaming. You could hear the dog barking. It almost sounds like your window tough girl, Kara, in the window, barking. A lot of ones in the chat. I want to play it just to have it here on the video. So yeah, let's take a listen without any interruptions.
Ron, can you lower it a little bit? Watch the timestamp in the upper right corner. Now note how he's driving around these corners at these times.
3:30 a.m. a.m. Slow, very slow moving at that point. 3:40 a.m. .46 a.m. This is the DoorDash. DoorDash driver is having difficulty finding the address. She's down the street with a flashlight. She testified to this, gave a written statement to the police. May 3:56. Kohberger's back. Two minutes later. So essentially, he's scoping out this location, and this is again showing that this was calculated. He knew what he was going to do. You don't drive back and forth around here without some type of plan. And Kohberger in this white Hyundai Elantra captured on this front doorbell, front screw-in light camera. Thank God this home here, just one house down, just 50 feet away from 1122 King Road, captured these images. Slow. This is at 4 o'clock, 3:58. 2 minutes or so goes by, and he comes back.
And you can see his car in the left-hand corner behind the house that's in like almost the center left.
DoorDash driver leaves at 4. And then within 5 minutes, he's back.
You know, maybe the multiple times he drove by, he saw lights on. Maybe he saw movements. He was waiting for things to come down in the house and the lights to go off.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows. You could see the road, the path here, the road. You could see his car coming down, and then now here he comes. This is 4:05, 5 minutes exactly after the DoorDash leaves. And it's the light that's getting on from the motion. is where he makes that odd turn. Tries to make this 3-point turn. Doesn't complete it. Goes out to the road. I gotta say, the DoorDash delivery gal, she's lucky that she wasn't a victim either. So this is 407. And the lights keep going on because of the motion. From 407 to what we're going to hear next. I'll be quiet during this. This is going to be audio captured. Or 15. Horrifying. There's one for you, Ed. Now that's telling right there. 419, 420, 420, 30 seconds.
Now keep looking to the left upper corner. Left upper corner. To the left of that house. To the left. You're going to see the car drive by. There it goes. Your banner covered it, but he drove by in the back. Yep. Horrific.
I'm going to try to take it off the banner. Hold on a second, Ed. Just give me a second. They changed everything on me. Okay, there we go. All right.
You hear the tires spinning.
Yep. Just getting the fuck out. Dog's still barking.
See him go by?
See him go right across. Tell you, you know, a seasoned crime scene unit investigator like yourself, you know, I've seen a lot of really horrific crime scenes. Just when you see that, it's it kind of takes the wind out of you, you know, because you know what happened, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people were making comments about your T-shirt, Ed. So a lot of people happy to see that. Thank you.
Go Buckeyes.
There you go. Thank you, Amy, for gifting 10 memberships, and thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Very disturbing, to say the least. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon with your questions. We want to get to your questions as we promised. And Ed, as we look for questions, anything that you want to add as it pertains to what you were saying about the crime scene, you were talking about working hand in hand with the medical examiner's office and the legal medical death investigators. At that point, we know, like I was saying, at 9:30 at night, around 9:30 is when these kids' bodies were removed and brought to the medical examiner's office. So what happens all, leading up from 12 noon all the way to 9:30 at night?
So the process, the hands will be bagged after the examinations are done. All their injuries are going to be documented. We have what's called a body sheet. So we have a diagram of bodies, and we're going to mark all the wounds and injuries on all of the victims. And if there are clothing worn, we're going to document all the knife damage to the clothing, the defects caused by the knife to the clothing, and then correlate them to the various injuries and wounds on the victims. And we'll have a complete list of all of those things. We're going to bag the hands with paper bags to protect what may be underneath the fingernails, because we do not do fingernail scrapings at the scene. We'll do that back at the morgue just before the autopsy and before the bodies are actually cleaned. Then we'll do the bloodstain pattern analysis. If it was appropriate, we'll run strings to show the directionality and the points of two-dimensional and three-dimensional convergence as to where in the space the blood was let from. I saw several stains there that were just very indicative of 90-degree blood drops dropping off of maybe a bloody object. It could be the knife, or it could be a wound that is slowly dripping blood with no greater force than gravity onto the floor of the rooms. I saw what could appear to be arterial spatter on a wall. I saw other types of trace transfer blood stains. And so all of these stains would have to be identified, and then the type of stain it is and its location documented and what it means. Like, for instance, this stain right here on the door. Well, those are 90-degree blood drops on the floor, but this one right here, that one, the lower one, you see it has the telltale elliptical shape with looks like an exclamation point. So that's telling me that the blood came from above down and to the right on the door. So at the time that blood was left on that door, it would appear the door was opened, not in this closed position. Okay. And then there's what's also some of the stains I saw would appear to be, it's called cast off. And, if you look back, if you go back into our old videos, you'll see one of the Forensic Fridays that we did on bloodstain pattern analysis and how the bloodstains occur and how this all, and it's all in there. So you can go back and review those to see how these stains would be left. Now, these handprints.
Yeah, let's talk about the handprints, because this is a party house, Ed. You could see the white powder, and people were questioning what that white powder is. Can you just
I don't know if that's fingerprint powder, or if it's just a dirty window. And these are what we call void print patterns, meaning the window was already dirty, and then hands touched it and removed the dirt and dust that were there onto their hands, because I see no indication of fingerprint tape being utilized on any of these handprints.
So this potentially could have nothing to do with the crime scene. This could be from in the past, potentially. We're not saying definitely.
Yeah, well, there's no way to put a time frame on this unless we can figure out the last time these windows were cleaned. Right. But saying that, and you would have to look at a ton of photographs. There's a lot of parties in this house, so you would have to gather up a lot of photographs from the party. But again, it's a void pattern where you could see the dust was removed from the window surface, as opposed to, fingerprint powder being applied, because if this was a fingerprint powder and then there's no indication that fingerprint tape was placed over this to try to see. Now, if you do oblique lighting, I can't tell if there's any ridge detail here on any of this.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. You have to read the reports that coincide with this. And there's nothing of that for us. This kitchen photo, again, we're looking at the sliding glass door. We don't know if obviously Kohberger left that door open. Everyone's speculating that he did leave that door open, but the amount of people that were inside that house, and we know Hunter took a knife from that kitchen and walked around inside that house with a knife on him from the kitchen. Did somebody open that door up after the fact, or was it left open?
You would have to look into the reports to see how it was found.
Correct.
You'd have to look at the interviews of all the occupants that were in the house before the police got there.
Right. Then when we saw photos of police from the news, this was shut. Remember, there was the tape over it, shut. Remember, Ed? There was tape here, tape here, tape here. And there was a cop on the outside from, I don't know what agency, but he was outside, guarding this door, this outside, on the outside of this exit. At the end of the day, I mean, we'll never know exactly what it is until we glean and read all the reports. But what was sad about inside that kitchen, it says this is our happy place, or this is our safe place, or some words to that effect. This is our happy place. And it was right above the kitchen sink. And that broke my heart to read that and see that in some of these photos.
Without having context to when this photo was taken and who took it, I find those footprints in the snow very interesting because they're going in both directions.
Right.
Okay. There's some coming in and there's some leaving.
Interesting. Again, so much.
So there's a question here by Ali. Yep, you got it. Ed, how would you collect footprint castings in the snow? Okay, well, first we're going to photograph it with and without scales and as to where it is. And then we're going to set up a tripod right over the footprint. And we're going to take close-up photographs of the footprint with and without scales. Then we're going to use oblique lighting techniques with our flash, and we're going to take the flash off the camera and tether it by a cable to the hot shoe. And then at oblique angles, we're going to shoot the left side, the right side, the toe, heel to toe, toe to heel, to create 3D casting of the light to create shadows. And then what we do is, if there's enough ridge detail present in the snow, we'll take what's called snow print. It's a wax in a spray can, and we'll lightly spray the wax over the footwear impression and let it drop into the footwear impression and create a wax coating. Then we'll mix dental stone. It's very similar to what the dentist uses to make impressions of your teeth. And we'll pour the dent stone into the wax that we sprayed in there. And then we'll let it harden and cure. And then we'll lift it, package it. We'll bring it to the laboratory, unpackage it, and clean up the surface with some soap water and a brush.
There you go. Fascinating information. Remember, this is a covered patio. I think out to these posts here. So the reason no snow is here is it's covered, and this snow could be from days in the past. We know that there was no snow the night of. And perhaps there was some snow on Sunday, but this is covered. This is the upstairs balcony above here, and we've seen the shots coming from that backyard there going forward to the back. We saw police body cam footage of Kaylee and an adult male coming out for noise complaints in the past. So we know. So yeah, There's a Canton cop reference. No leaf blower. No.
I just did a training course in the Cape May Police Academy, Cape May, New Jersey. And I had 32 students, crime scene investigators from New Jersey and the NYPD. And we had a whole discussion about the Canton Police Department's response and the Mass State Police response to the O'Keefe death scene and the lack of crime scene forensic standards that were followed. It is a case study in what not to do.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, there's a lot of questions. A lot of people are on the Facebook groups. I saw in the Idaho case discussion group, lots of these photos are being shared. And people were saying that they felt like in these photos that there were some of the remains of these victims in these photos. I did not see not one, including the one shot from a distance going into up the hallway into Xana Kernodle's bedroom. I did not see anything that was indicative of a body. It looked like there was pooling blood that was there. Ed, you're the professional. You've been to over 2,600 crime scenes. Did you see in any of those photos, and I shared a lot of the photos with you, that there was anything indicative of any human remains in those photographs, Ed?
I did not see anything that suggested to me that a human remain was being blurred out or altered in any fashion in the photographs that I saw.
Right. I just wanted to put that to bed because there was a lot of people talking about it, and there was a lot of arguments going on back and forth, and people were saying that they believed that there was, but we wanted to put that to rest. Anything else jump out at you at the chat? And I want to just say thank you to everyone who sent super chats. So let me just go over them quick as you look into the chat, Ed. Michelle Connolly, member for 1 month, she said the district attorney in this case is cowardly, evidently. Everybody's opinions are valued here. Thank you for that. I gotta know, sends in 5, will Bryan Kohberger be studied now and after death? CT scans, MRI, labs, psych tests, etc. Good question. Ed, your thoughts?
Yeah, there are definitely people that will do this, like the FBI Forensic Behavioral Science Unit would, might want to come up and pay this guy a visit and get in his head.
I think we will see and hear about that in the future. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that, Kim Askew. Thank you. Emily, always good to see you. Thank you for the 5. Knowing his ego and narcissism, how do you think he'll handle the general population? He won't see GP for a while. It will happen eventually. And you know what? Look, this is what Ed and I feel like, and I'm going to make us closer. Whoa. This is how we feel about this. I hope that Bryan Kohberger does not have one good, solid day. I hope each and every minute of his waking time and sleeping time entails horror, the same horror that he inflicted on these victims. I hope he is tortured by his inmates and the population there. I hope that he is mind-fucked left and right, and I'm sorry to use profanities, but he doesn't deserve one good day. And that's how I feel. There'll be some people that will say, how dare you, DutyRon? But no, this guy is a monster. He's an evil demon, as far as I'm concerned. Ed, how about you?
Well, his kind don't do well in Gen Pop. Okay. Yep. Just ask Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay. Oh, you can't. He's dead. They killed him. Oh, So, but if he comes off like the weird character, he's not gonna do well at all if he gets in Gen Pop. Right now, he's in protective custody. Ron, I see something here. I just want to answer it out. Is that okay?
Of course.
All right. So Holly Williams said, Ron, Ed, any thoughts on what the second weapon might have been? Well, based upon the description that Steve gave us, It could be the end of the K-bar knife that has a circular butt plate with a rectangular tab that is part of the knife blade, the tang that goes into it. It could be that where they took that end and, hit the victim in the face, in the mouth, in the head area several times and created those impressions. It also could be part of the grip of the K-bar. So I don't know without any further details or looking at any photographs of the wounds, but the medical examiners, the pathologists, should be able to look at the patterns that are left behind and get some idea of what caused the wound and the injury.
And officially, there has never been mention of a second weapon other than what we heard during the victim impact statement from Olivia, Kaylee's sister. That was the first time I heard it, and that's what's causing everyone to talk about it. But from the law enforcement side and from an investigative side, we never heard any. They did not allude to that there was a second weapon. And Ed, I believe when you showed that in our last live stream on this case,
yeah,
you actually showed that K-bar knife and you showed the back end of it, the butt, and also the handle. So
Debbie LPTA, it is a K-bar is a Marine Corps military knife.
Yes. All right. I want to just continue with some of the super chats. Again, thank you for becoming a member. 1969. It was a very good year. Thank you.
As my Mustang.
Miss Cosgrove, thank you for the 5. They have him on camera. Casing 1122. Yes, we just showed it. I know this super chat was from earlier. Committing the crime right down to Xana's last utterance. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make out definitively what that is, but this was 50 feet away from Xana's bedroom, the wall of her bedroom. This camera caught the audio, what we believe to be it's just horrific. Thank you for the super chat. Michelle, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Much appreciated. Amy, thank you for the 10. Hi, DutyRon and Ed. You're such a class act. Thank you for addressing this abomination with such thoughtfulness and respect. I've seen some very disturbing content on TikTok and can't make it make sense. People that are, turning this into something that it's not, they really should have their heads examined, because there are real people left behind, like the Gonzalez family, like the Chapin family, like the Mogan family, and there's many sides to these families. I can't overemphasize the Knodel family as well. There's multiple sides to these families, and some of them, parents have split up, and there's many people involved in this, and I think you guys should take a real hard look at yourselves when you go on and on and on about this stuff. And we're addressing it because it just, as of last night, I think it was 10 or 11 o'clock, these new photos, 200 or so, were dropped in a FOIA request by a Idaho news station. They're not just putting this stuff out there just to put it out there. They're reporting on the news. So, yeah.
And those FOIA requests, you don't get those images and the paperwork for free. You have to pay for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The news pays for it, and I anticipate individuals to gladly pay for it and then put it out and make people pay to see it. I'm horrified to say this, but we haven't heard the last of this. There's going to be tons of people who are going to be going on and on and on about this. And look, there's some crazy people that are still talking about Chris Watts. And that's from 2018, that crime occurred. Dora Della, thank you. Doro Della, thank you for the 10. Ron and Ed, the pro burgers are killing me. These people are crazy. Ed, how many comments did we save? We have a whole zip file of pro-burgers that were telling us that they got the wrong guy. Bryan Kohberger's innocent.
No, it was beyond just telling us that. They were attacking us for our positions. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a disgrace. You must have sucked at crime scene investigations. And I was like, okay, you're going to eat those words. Okay.
I'm exhausting all of the humble pies. I have like 30 cases of them that I'm ready to serve. But these people are nuts. They're nuts.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll be those people that will do the Freedom of Information Acts because they're looking for something in the crime scene that they can say, look, he's innocent because of this.
Yeah. Insane. I suggest to those people to go and seek mental health counseling.
It's not reasonable.
Yeah, it's not reasonable. And anybody that's still, and those are going to be the same people that write him letters and that go and visit or try to visit him. These people aren't mentally well. And I say that with, with extreme conviction. These are not well people. So, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ed. Did you remember what that was that you had up?
Yeah, it's Marilyn's Planet. Question: CSIs ever get nightmares working on these cases? 100%.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be human if the horrors that we've seen didn't affect us in one way or another. I mean, we know how to compartmentalize and we know how to deal with it and work through it and so forth. And then when it's time for help, you go get help. There's no shame in that.
I got to say this, in addition to responding to the World Trade Center, which, many, many lives were taken that day. But I worked at the medical examiner's office for a good long time, going there for 12-hour tours as the body parts were coming in and they were being sent to dentists, to the dental x-rays, going to these various different departments. And we would walk them over they were on stretchers or whatever the case may be. And we would walk and I would spend 12 hours a day with medical examiners in the autopsy suite, making identification. This is a right rib. This is a left rib. This is, so those are things you can't unsee. And in addition to that, leading up to that, I had 10 years of patrol and street, anti-crime and plainclothes and, responded to so many different, horrific scenes where people have been brutally murdered. But like Ed said, when you have good support from your family, from your friends, your loved ones, that's how you get through these times. And if you need to you go and you talk to somebody. I've been lucky where I didn't have to do that. But yeah, man, it's hard to unsee this stuff. And it never goes away. It never goes away. So I think, here's one from our good friend Angela. Angela S., a good old friend from Long Island, says, #Ed, I don't want to sound gruesome, but if any of the kids were being cremated, how long can they hold a body while an autopsy is being performed? It's a good question.
Well, unfortunately, in these day and ages, we see a lot of families get released these bodies and then immediately go cremate the bodies. And then once that happens, if there's any controversy or any issue that could have been resolved with a second look at the body, we've lost that opportunity, or any evidence, any toxicology, any of that, we've lost that opportunity. The bodies can be held at the medical examiner's and coroner's office with a few exceptions, religious exceptions for Islam and Judaism, for quite some time, pending the outcome of all of the pathology that needs to be done, including lab, microscope, chemical analysis, histology, brain analysis, and so forth.
Ed, look at this one. Ed, how would Bryan Kohberger hold the blade to use the knife handle? You wouldn't hold the blade, Ed.
No, depending on what portion of the knife could be used for blunt force trauma. But if it's the bottom of the knife, all right, he could hold it with the blade coming out this way and strike with the butt of the knife. Okay, if the knife was, say, still in the sheath, okay, he could have held it by the sheath, and then the handle of the knife is exposed up to the snap. On the other side of the snap is the butt of the knife, and then he could have just smacked the side of the handle against a victim as a blunt force instrument.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat, I think it was Jay Ray, said, "Did you guys hear that they just identified a few more people from the September 11th wreckage?" Yeah. One of the three, one of them was at the request of the family not to be identified, but one of the three was from an adjoining town, right where I live in Floral Park. And his family was able to get closure. It was all
just
over the
a
news.
little over. Yeah, just a little over half the victims have been identified. There's still thousands of body parts that have not yielded the genetic profile that we have stored at the 9/11 Museum Laboratory. And every time a new method of extracting genetic materials from substances gets validated, the DNA team and the anthropology team go running down to the laboratory and start using those methodologies to see if they can get an identification.
Little history. My cousin, Ralph Liccardi, 30 years young, was murdered in the World Trade Center. He was a Journey electrician, Journey foreman, 7 years, but with a local 3 electricians union. And Ralph's remains were never recovered. But his wife gave a toothbrush and his hairbrush, and they were able to, from a part of his left leg, they didn't specify what part, they were able to get DNA from, I guess, multiple sets of remains that were taken in, and this was 7 months after the World Trade Center. And yeah, so.
And many people don't know this, folks, and we've identified many of the 9/11 hijackers' DNA from remains recovered at Ground Zero. In addition, we recovered their identity documents in the rubble.
In the rubble, yeah. Hey, listen, folks, I want to thank you for being here with us for an hour and 15 minutes or so on a Friday night. This has been part of our Friday night forensics special. Bryan Kohberger, the Idaho Four, admitted murderer of these 4 victims: Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, 21 at the time, Ethan Chapin, 20 years old, and Xana Knodel, 20 years old. This is what it's about: the victims and their families. And we can't forget that, folks. We can never forget. I wanted to get Ethan's picture in there nice and clear. So I want to thank you guys for all being here. But just remember, there's going to be people who are out there being disrespectful. And it's people who watch them that fuel the fire. If you want to take a step to put the fire out for them and to put them to sleep, so to speak, don't watch, don't comment, don't engage, because without an audience, they'll have nothing. And trust me, if you had something like this happen to your son or daughter, or your niece or nephew, or your relatives, or your family, you wouldn't want somebody disrespecting them. So that's my words of wisdom for you guys here tonight. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the victims' families. And we always are thinking about all victims of crime and their families across the globe. Ed, I know you always got something to say at the end of these things, and I know you got something highlighted up on the screen there.
Oh, no, that was an accident. But Ray asked a question about he heard there was only about 40% of the victims have not been identified, and that's about right, Ray. Yeah, folks, thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. We know your time is valuable. We know you can get your true crime fix anywhere you like on the internet and YouTube. It's an honor to have you watching our show and spreading the word about us and helping us grow. But always, please, people, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Amen. Thank you, Ed. I want to thank you for educating our audience, and thank you for being my co-host and my friend and my partner here on Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. This is our channel together. And again, educating our audience is key. And with your knowledge, I've learned so much. And like I said on previous live streams, I wish I had known you while I was active on the job, because I would have been that much better of an investigator. So thank you, Ed, for sharing your massive knowledge base.
Ron, one last question I got to answer.
You suck, Ed.
I'm sorry. It says, Holly, I didn't want to let this go. We're not preserving bodies. There were only maybe a handful of whole bodies that were in fact recovered. Everything else were body parts, and from tiny microscopic body parts to a little bigger body parts, but there were no intact bodies that are being held now. Now, all these body parts and tissues and bones and organs, pieces thereof, were dehydrated and are being stored in a special climate-controlled environment at the 9/11 Museum Laboratory.
Yep. Alrighty, thank you for answering that out, Ed. And again, September 11th is right around the corner. It's a tough time of the year for all of us first responders. Ed and I were there when this heinous crime was committed by terrorism, radical Islamic terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. And we were there and answered the call. And some 23 years later, I was afflicted with cancer. Ed, it happened to you much sooner, but both of us have fought and continue to fight all different kinds of after effects from breathing in that toxic dust. So thank you all for being here. We love and respect you all. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. And we will see you on the next one. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace.